Hello everyone, welcome to today's webinar and as part of our City and Guilds Digital Week. We're going to be running webinars all week on lots of different systems, so everything from Learning Assistant through to today's Maths and English webinar. Just to start off by introducing myself, my name is Samantha Upton. I work for City and Guilds as a Digital Solutions Manager. The idea of my role is to support with technical demonstrations such as today's webinar. I'm also responsible for training and implementation. There's my colleague Simon Berry as well, who again does exactly the same role. So the idea is that if you do purchase any of our systems to support your teaching and learning delivery, then you also have the added support from ourselves as well to truly help you implement those systems. So throughout the week, we're going to be running a series of webinars. Like I said, everything from Learning Assistant to Skill Zone. We've also got an update on Smart Screen from our product manager, Charlie Evans. Another of our product managers, Lorna, she's actually running a slot on digital credentials. We then have a webinar with Brad Lewis from Get My First Job, and he's going to be running a webinar around their latest venture, Talent Portal. And then we also have lots of Learning Assistant updates around apprenticeships. So the reason that we wanted to do a digital week is to inform our customers about the wealth of resources we have to support with teaching and learning. The reason that we're focusing on digital at the moment is because the world is evolving and young individuals are growing up these days very much accustomed to using the internet and emails, Skype, Twitter. So the World Wide Web was actually developed in 1990, so only 27 years on, and look where we are today. Almost 2.4 million emails are sent every second, which is an amazing amount of emails. Skype users make up to 3 billion minutes of calls each day. Facebook was actually launched in 2004, and that now has 1.2 billion users. Twitter in 2008. LinkedIn now has over 500 million users. So the reason that I'm showing you this is just to put into context the true extent to how we are actually using the internet and digital technology. And as I said earlier, learners are growing up using lots of different forms of devices, whether they be computers, laptops, mobile phones, tablets. And City and Guilds want to ensure that they are supporting those learners with learning platforms that they will enjoy using just as they do any other platform. So they are compatible with lots of different forms of devices. For all of them, you do really need an internet connection, but for Learning Assistant, we do actually have a mobile phone app that will work offline as well. So as part of the City and Guilds digital group, we have Digital Me. They specialise in digital credentials. We have Get My First Job, who have just launched Talent Portal. Talent Portal is a platform that enables a learner to advertise themselves for an apprenticeship, but it also allows providers to search and shortlist up to 30 candidates for jobs that they may have available. City and Guilds have a range of platforms, like I said earlier, from Learning Assistant to Skill Zone to Smart Screen. Okay, so for any further information about anything that I'm going to go through today, or alternatively one of those other platforms, then feel free to contact digital sales at cityandguilds.com or call 01924 206 709 and the team will be happy to support. So there are two platforms that we have to support with maths and English delivery. The first one that I'm going to go through is our eFunctional Skills platform. This is very much designed for an apprenticeship setting. We then have SmartScreen, which is a little bit more like a cherry picking resource. So you can actually go in there, pick videos, pick e-learning bites, or alternatively pick things like worksheets or delivery plans that would allow you to support the candidates. E-functional skills, which is the one that you can see on screen there, which I'm going to go through first. We do work in conjunction with an organisation called Hodder Education, and Hodder Education launch our resources, so initial and diagnostic assessment, on this platform. The idea is that it will take a learner from initial assessment all the way through to being exam ready. It's very structured in its approach. It works on a red, amber and green system, which enables a tutor to truly see if a learner is actually bridging their skills gaps. So obviously I'm demonstrating this on a laptop today. However, it is very much compatible with other forms of devices. If you take an iPad, for example, you could use that through Safari or alternatively a Google Chrome app. Completely up to you. We do find a lot of learners love to use those forms of devices, so it's really nice that those platforms, this platform can be used again on lots of different platforms. So what I thought I'd do first of all is actually log in as a learner. Okay, so the first thing that you can see that pops up here is we've got lessons, to-do list and the how am I doing section. The to-do list is where the learner will actually receive their initial assessment. The initial assessment is the area that works out the level that the learner's working towards, whether that be entry level 3, level 1 or level 2. And the diagnostic then calculates the skills gaps. Now you can see here that for the level 1 maths, it asks the learner a series of level 1 questions. It then will work out whether they need to progress on to level 2 or down to entry 3. The reason we do that is because it breaks that up into chunks. So that's quite nice for the learner. If they want to log out after completing the level 1 and log back in to do the level 2, then they can do. Now, after it's worked out the level, you'll then find that the diagnostics actually appear in this section. The diagnostics could be fractions and decimals, number and number systems, but it breaks it down into chunks. So in terms of your apprenticeship delivery, you may decide that actually what you want to do is get the learner to take the fractions and decimals diagnostic. If the learner perhaps comes out at red or amber, they will receive an individualised learning plan. And in receiving that individualised learning plan, they receive lots of resources from presentations, so interactive presentations, to PDFs, through to lots of test your knowledge tests. Now you then may decide that actually you want to bridge that multiplication and division skills gap before moving the learner on to something like number and number systems, for example. Alternatively, you could get them to take the diagnostics all in one go, and then they again would have your individualised learning plans in there. Now, after the learner has worked their way through the initial and diagnostic assessments and any of the test your knowledge tests, the result, including the transcript, will actually appear in this section here. The transcript will tell the learner the question that was asked and whether they got it right or wrong. Doesn't provide them with the correct response, just in case you want them to resit the test. But if you need to see the answers, you do have a copy of that in your tutor platform. On the left-hand side, you'll notice we have a lessons section. Now, this is where you can actually tailor that learner journey a little bit. So as much as our system will provide the learner with initial assessment, diagnostic, all the way through to completing those individualised learning plans and doing those test your knowledge tests, if the learner is struggling at any point throughout and perhaps you want to provide a contextualised resource that you've created, you can upload those in your tutor platform, create a lesson and send that through to the learner, and that will sit here. Now obviously that's great, especially in an apprenticeship setting, if for example you have learners that are dotted throughout the country. With the support of a platform such as this, potentially that could cut down travel costs. It's also very clear in terms of the way that the RAG system works and in terms of those tests and the results from those. Because they appear on red, amber and green, green means that they won't receive an individualised learning plan. So with the red and amber, you can truly analyse the gaps and where you need to support that learner. Now, it may be the case that if you have assessors supporting in the delivery of a platform such as this, that if the learner is still really struggling and those test your knowledge tests keep appearing as red or amber, then perhaps that's when you would choose to send in a maths and English specialist to support the learner. These are just some ideas about how centres that are currently using the system have been using the platform. So I'm now going to log in as a tutor. Now you'll notice when I log in here that it does look a little bit different to the Learner platform. That's because you have access to all of the resources. You further down at the bottom, you also have the ability to provide to set up the learner and allocate them to groups. You've got test reports, which is where you'll view the learner's test reports results. There could sometimes be a little bit of marking to do on this platform. The system marks as much as it can, one-word answers, drag and drop multiple choice. But especially in regards to the English, there could be some questions to mark, in which case it will appear here. Now you'll notice at the top that the initial assessment for the maths and English is actually saying free, okay? This is free of charge. The reason being is that when we initially launched the platform, some centres were saying, especially colleges, were saying that actually they wanted to test the learner's level prior to bringing them onto a platform, and they didn't want to pay for a full license unless they were sure that the learner was actually working towards the level they needed for that apprenticeship. So therefore, we provide the initial assessment completely free of charge when you purchase some of the Diagnostic and ILP licenses. And in doing so, it allows you to put as many learners through here as you want, and then should they definitely be staying on programme, then you would move them on to the diagnostics by allocating the further licence. Okay. Now coming into here and clicking on the maths, you'll notice that it's broken down into a few different sections. So we have the introduction, initial and diagnostic assessments, as you can see here. The reason that they are here is so that if you wish to, you can reallocate. Now the licence for the functional skills per learner lasts for 2 years. So if a learner can progress through multiple levels, then you can come in here and reuse the licence at no extra cost. So let's say, for example, I've just logged into my learner platform and I've taken my initial assessment and the system has actually calculated that I'm working towards level 1. I've also done my diagnostics, and one of the areas that I'm struggling with, so I've appeared on either red or amber, is the fractions, decimals and percentages. On the right hand side, these are the resources that will appear within the individualised learning plan for fractions, decimals and percentages. Now, section 1 of 2 is all about the learner building their skill, whereas section 2 of 2 is all about us testing that learner's skill. The introduction is, if I just click on the PDF version, basically explains to the learner what they are going to learn about and what they are going to need to achieve at level 1 for fractions and decimals. The presentation lasts about a minute. Again, works perfectly with mobile phones, so the learner could pop in their headphones, connect to the Wi-Fi and watch the video, and the video would fit perfectly to the screen. If we look at the explanation, and unfortunately, you won't be able to hear the sound today, but there is audio for this presentation, and it's saying, you know, when you are thinking about fractions, it's really good to have an image in your mind. So, for example, it's talking about a pizza here and how if you cut it into 6 pieces, 1 slice of pizza would be 1/6. Okay. Now, as you can see at the bottom, it's actually broken down into 11 bite-sized chunks. The learner can stop, pause, rewind, watch this presentation as many times as they want to. They also have the equivalent PDF, so it's exactly the same. So if the learner wishes to, they could print this off, make notes against it whilst they're watching the presentation. The worked examples presentation is great, as it actually starts to show the learner how they would work out a question they may get asked within their end exam. Okay. Again, you can see it's broken down into 13 bite-sized chunks, so it's quite thorough. So some of the presentations can last up to about 12 minutes. Okay. Now, once they've worked their way through those, they then move on to the task. The task is testing what they've just learnt within these presentations. The task is multiple choice. Okay, and again, this looks quite similar in its layout anyway to the initial and diagnostic assessments. The learner would answer all the questions. If they don't answer them all, you can see there that it sits at red. If they miss one, it sits as white, and if they complete one, it will go to green. We need the learner to have green across the board before we can click this button on the right hand side and they can submit that. Okay. Now, depending on the results from these, the tutor would view these results. If the learner is managing quite well, then you move them on to the test your knowledge test, because these are the ones that resemble that end exam a little bit more instead of just being multiple choice. However, if the learner is still struggling, then you can come up to the lesson builder at the top here. You can create a new lesson, so you may say fractions and decimals. Okay. Now you can upload your own resources. These could be Word documents, PDFs. Like I said, a lot of centres that are using this system are using this functionality to upload contextualised resources for maths and English, whether that may be tailored towards a construction setting, hair and beauty, health and social care. It's completely up to you. You can then add in web links, and in doing so it will actually hyperlink the learner out to another website. But lastly, you can also add in our resources. So if we come to entry 3, because the learner's really struggling at level 1, come to fractions and decimals and click +L. Can you see here how it's saying add to fractions and decimals at level 1? Okay, so if I come back up to the top here, you can see that they've been added in. So you're truly able to tailor that learner journey. Now what you can do then is you can choose to share it. Now you could share it with other tutors and they in turn could share it with their learners, or you could share it with a group of individuals, or alternatively just one person. Okay, now by creating the groups earlier, that means it's easier to share lessons, to find your marking, and also to view your test reports. But the customization of the platform is something that myself and my colleague Simon will go through as part of that implementation and training. Okay. Now, let's say, for example, the learner has bridged all of the diagnostic gaps that they had, whether that be amber or red. Okay. The tutor would be able to monitor that on their tutor platform. And then when they were happy enough, they would move the learner onto both exam scenarios and exam papers. Okay, now exam scenarios here are bite-sized chunk tests. You can see here it's the same test, just repeated 5 different times. We've got the interactive whiteboard one, which I really like. Okay, shows the learner the exam question, a couple of different student responses, and also the mark scheme. But you've also got the equivalent in the interactive version, again, brilliant for apprentices if they're not located near yourselves. And then things like the Word document version. Now, they're bite-sized chunk tests for a reason, because they only last about half an hour, so they're there to build up the learner's confidence prior to you moving them onto a full exam paper. Now, if I come back to the main page, the last thing I want to show you on this system is the test reports. Okay, it's just showing you an example of a learner here, and you can do bulk reports by selecting them all and running a report either in Excel by percentages or marks down there. But a lot of centres generally view the learners on an individual candidate basis. They can see the learner's to-do list, which is a mirror image of that box that was in the middle of the platform when I showed you the learner platform earlier on. It calculates the total amount of time that it's taken them to do a particular test. And this is what I mean by the red, amber and green system. Now we can see here that they've taken both initial assessments, the initial assessment at level 2. There's about 16 questions in each initial assessment, so we wouldn't expect it to do 2 levels to take any more than about 25, maybe 30 minutes. For the dividing here, you can see that's in green, likewise for these two, and also temperature and conversion. But for tables, charts and graphs, the learner will have received an individualised learning plan. If I come in and click on review, it will tell the tutor the questions that they were asked and the ones that they got wrong. And if we click review, we can actually see the answer for that. Okay. Now at the bottom, we can actually export a Word document. And this is presenting a learner journey to us. Okay. Now, this can be edited, so you can add bits in. Okay, but it gives you something really nice to work from. A lot of centres take this document and upload it into our e-portfolio. Okay, so hopefully you can see that the e-functional skills is brilliant for apprentices. Like I say, it saves it's really clear in its approach, especially as an independent learning platform. You can track the total amount of time that the learner's actually spent in the system. And yeah, the feedback we've had from the platform so far is brilliant. So if you have any further questions about that one, email digitalsales@cityandguilds.com and myself or Simon or one of my other colleagues will be in touch. So going on to our other platform, okay, we have maths and English resources from entry 1 all the way up to level 2. We've got handling data, measure set, shape and space, and number topic. And as you can see, these are broken down into different categories. So we have these ones with the duplicate level against them and the topic title. These are what we call a classroom pack. We then have e-learning bites and revision videos. So you can pick the bits out that you want to. Now, unlike the e-functional skills, which is a per learner license based model, this smart screen one you would pay for the year and you can enroll as many people on here as you like. So in the fractions, decimals and percentages classroom pack, for example, just logging into it here, we have delivery plans, activities, which are worksheets and your answer sheets, interactive activities, revision cards, video and audio. Now, as you can see, there's quite a wealth of resource in there. There is 48 classroom packs between the maths and English at the different levels. Okay. If you want to see those in any further detail, again, feel free to get in contact and we can set you up with a temporary license. We then have e-learning bites. Okay, these can be broken down into videos, interactive tutorials, again, a variety. And the last thing that we have, which is probably some of my favourite in here, is the revision videos. So if I just come into here and click on calculating equivalences, for example, and just to, again, make you aware, the e-functional skills platform is tailored for an e-functional skills learner. Okay, but this smart screen platform has been developed for your maths and English curriculum, so it could be used for a variety of qualifications. Okay, so as you can see here, these are just short, very short videos. There's we have a few different people presenting. These people that are in the videos are all teachers themselves, so you know they're not actors and actresses. They do deliver maths and English on a daily basis. As you can see, we've got the transcript at the bottom, and the idea is that the learner can just log into here. If they're struggling with something like this, for example, they can watch this. And it's a great learning resource. So if you would like to look at either one of the platforms that I've shown you today, then we're more than happy to set you up with a temporary license or provide further demonstrations. Again, please just contact Digital Sales. We will be sending the recording out afterwards. So again, if you want to forward that on to anybody, then feel free to do so. And we will be sending out the recording. So yeah, again, feel free to send that on. And we look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you very much.